Good morning, welcome to Woods and Water Wanderings. Today we're going to look at a couple of reels. These are just inexpensive, made in Japan Kmart reels that I picked up at yard sales or someplace. 3 identical reels, but parts missing on each one. No reel foot here to attach it to a pole. This one has screws missing. This one is almost completely there, but it's kind of rough, not doing well. Now these are cheap reels, inexpensive, part missing here. Most people would say just throw them away anyway, they're not worth anything. They have bent handles and so on and so forth. But I have a number of inexpensive poles that could be used for pan fishing and stuff out of the boats. And so we're gonna dismantle the 3 of these, take parts to make one good reel, and use the parts from the others for other things at different points. The screws can be used on different reels and such. So we'll just disassemble these and go from there. First we'll take an inventory whether or not there's enough things here to make one complete reel. This one has all the screws in it, has all the moving parts, but they're in very bad shape. So some of these other parts are better shape. They'll go inside here. This is missing, the only thing I see, this one is missing a button here that needs to go on there. It's a button and a spring both, and a couple things inside, a brass thread, and a couple of other little things that need to be put on this one to make it completely whole. So we will disassemble and see what we have to work with. Have a couple of minimal tools. Have these small trays and some brushes for oil and grease, and we'll use those. This has a little washer on it. These are very basic. These are made at Kmart, and probably not even when they were brand new were they very good for much of anything other than retaining the line, and in so doing, this is spinning at this point, so there may be needs of some WD-40 on it. There we go. Never a real expensive reel, and probably not used by too many other than children. Not fishing off a dock or a boat or a pier or something like that. For small panfish. This one is well, I'll take and disassemble all of these. It's pretty straightforward. The putting back together will be the thing that will be most important, and we'll do that after I get it cleaned up and ready to go. And there's going to be a little bit of a, if I can get it, I have to get this little plug out here, which has got a little there we go. Don't lose that because that has to go back in. It has a little bit of a half circle there that goes into these lines in order to be able to move it back and forth. I think I'll leave that right on there. It doesn't look like it's movable. This one has a little spring loaded retainer there. Seems to be okay, but we'll clean those up and put them back together. That's the first one. It's well taken apart, and I don't see anything else that needs to really come apart here. This one has a retainer pin, as you can see here. We can get it out. It's not going to come that easy, I guess. There we go. That comes out, and then this whole piece comes apart. That's disassembly of the one. I'll keep that separate, and I'll take these other two apart, and we'll use cannibalize the pieces that are necessary to make a whole reel. I've had to stop the video and go into some problem solving, figure out what was going wrong with this. I couldn't get it all back together. If you like this video so far, like it, subscribe, share it with others. It helps us tremendously, and we'll get on with the rest of this particular reel cleaning and putting it back together at this particular time. These are all apart, as you can see in the two trays here. I'm going to take and just clean these up a little bit. And then we'll make a complete reel out of all of the ones we have. As you can see here, takes off a lot of the grime. Still got to do the back side of these. small brush, similar to this paintbrush. Good to use to get the major grease off and clean them up. It doesn't have to be. This particular one doesn't have a lot of rust on it. It just has a lot of dirt and grease ground in. And this in a small soft cloth will make it very good. Now there's some controversy over using WD-40. The main controversy is that it's not a lubricant, and it's not really. It's more a solvent to clean it up. You really need to use a good lube and a good oil, real oil, for the final lubrication, because this, after it dries, and it will dry over a long period of time, after it dries up a bit, it has a tendency to absorb moisture and then cause some rusting of some of your exposed parts. So don't rely on it. It's good for, during the year, squirt it a couple times on your reels. It does help keep them running good, and takes out some of the dirt and stuff that you might have accumulated, and keep you going. And then at the end of the year, you might want to make a whole cleaning session and get rid of all of the dried on dirt and accumulated dirt and any rust that might be there. These are non-moving parts, so I'm not going to worry about those right now. They're not. This one, as you can see, just comes through to hold one of the only moving part is this one right here, which goes in and out, as you can see here. And it doesn't move very far, just enough to open that spring or to allow that spring to come forward. So we're not going to try even to take those off. As we said, they're just inexpensive reels that most people would probably just throw out when they lose parts or no longer work. We're all pretty good shape. So that is how we would clean them up with the WD-40 or some other kind of solvent. And I'm going to do the rest of these pieces, and then I'll come back and we'll start assembling them. We're back, and I took and cleaned all the parts, set aside some that I will not be using because scratches or just plain bent pieces, things like that will not work. And I've chosen the pieces that I'm going to put together one reel from. We'll use this one and these simple plates like this. Pretty good on the inside, the outsides. Well, we'll take that one. And these two, main thing would be which one has the better. That's got a better. Well, I guess they both work pretty good, so which one looks the best? I think we'll use this one here. Okay, so there's the three parts, basic parts that we need. Now we're going to have to pick out some other parts. This is just a decorative thing that we'll get to later. We will this one I think will do. Here's a nice retainer use this particular spool. Seems to be the nicest, smoothest. No rust on it. Set of handles, leveler, and parts that go to the leveler. And this is the only one we have of the three reels. This is the only shroud or the protection we had for any of them. The other two were lost. I'm going to choose this particular one. I've already examined them. This one has the best grooves here and came out the smoothest on the shaft here. Again, I looked these over. This cleaned up the best for that particular one, and this particular one cleaned up the best there. So we have all those parts. The only other thing we need is this, and this is a good sharp gear, no broken parts to it or anything of that sort, and the little pin that retains it on the shaft. First thing we've got to do is assemble this. Alright, I'm going to take just a little bit of lube here to put on that. Could put just oil in there, but I'm going to put a little bit of lube on this because it hasn't had anything. When I looked at this, it didn't have any signs of ever being lubed or in any way lubricated at all. So we will put this together, a little bit of lube on that to get it in there. Like so. And I believe this one here, the only one left of this that we have, I believe this one goes right on there. Like so. And that is back together. Now we can put this back on. So, and let's get some screws in that, I guess, first off to get it correct. Let's put these screws in. Pick out a couple of good screws for that. That one sets that one in place. Then we have this larger of these, goes up to the top so that it has the groove, the filler goes in. Like so. Smaller of these goes in the bottom. Then get your next one in Okay, here we have the finished product. I had to take, and I was having trouble with a little bit of it, so I had to do it off camera, but it's together. Here's one complete reel. It's a Kmart 007, it says on there, whatever that means, but it's a little level wind. I won't even call it a bait casting because I know you can't bait cast with it. It's just a little level wind reel, working well. It has the clicker on it, and it also can be taken off for more silent. I won't say that it's smooth. It's not the smoothest action I've ever seen in a reel. It's kind of I don't know what you would say. A little. It's not rough. It's smooth in the sense that it goes back and forth smoothly, but there's a little bit of drag on it there. And of course, there's not any real way to adjust that. As you see here, we have it works well. It's useful for a summer fishing, and I'm going to match it up with a old fiberglass rod from probably about the same period of time that this one is. I'm not sure, but this is the old rod that I've got that I'm going to use, and I'm going to put it on there and be ready to be used in the boat for panfish. Just throw it out while you're casting for bass or whatever. But this is the final product. A lot of extra here, and we'll see when we get open water. We'll take this out and we'll see if we can catch at least a perch or a sunfish or a bluegill or something on it, and have it for that purpose alone. Be good for small stream fishing for trout in that respect, but it is an inexpensive, cheap reel made by Kmart, and you know, as far as to resell it or anything like that, it wasn't worth the work that I put into it to recondition it and make it a complete reel. Even at this way, it would maybe bring $1 or $2 at a yard sale. That's the most you could hope for from this particular rod, or from this particular reel. So we'll see you next time, and trust that you have enjoyed it. If you stayed to the end, hope you have a good day.